Wow, what a sight. Standing up here, looking out today, hundreds of expectant, welcoming faces looking at me, waiting for me to say something interesting, something amusing, something insightful. Photographers catching every moment. Dancers. This feels like my wedding day. I mean, I appreciate, by the way, that this is a small wedding by Indian standards, but nevertheless, this is wonderful to see so many people joining us for this second Cambridge conference, conclave. This is great to see how the way it's building its momentum and inviting and bringing so many people from this amazing community of schools, leaders, teachers, learners together for these 2 days. Welcome. It really is wonderful to be here. I hope we're going to have a great 2 days and we're going to share a lot of great insights together. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rod Smith. I'm the Global Managing Director for Cambridge International Education. And it's absolutely wonderful to be back here again. I've been to this area probably about 20, I've been to India about 20, 25 times in my career. But actually, during all of that time, I've always come for work. And the last time I was here, I actually had the privilege and joy of being able to spend a bit of time going around the country. My son he came with me for the first time. He had, like most teenage boys, he'd just finished his A-levels. So he was absolutely exhausted for 3 months, where he did almost nothing, having done his A-levels, but just lay around and think about how hard he'd been working. So we took the opportunity of saying, come on, this is time. We came over and we traveled around. By the way, I'm the good-looking one on the left, okay, just for those people who are trying to work this out. And it was an amazing experience, because I was able to share, I think, just for those few days, some time together, a very special time together as he finished his exams and was going off to university, but also to be able to share a little bit of the joy and excitement and inspiration that I always get when I come here. This is the most amazing part of the world. And I think it was really important for me to be able to show him where I've gone to 20 times in the last few years, but also just to give him a little bit of an experience of what an amazing culture and an amazing country that this, a country that continues to amaze and to grow and develop every time I come here. So thinking of my son again for a moment and what he'd just been through, I do want to just spend a moment thinking about why this is such an important place for Cambridge International. I think we've mentioned the enormous potential, the enormous belief and faith in education that we see across South Asia. We see some of the best schools in the world in delivering the Cambridge curriculum. We see an appetite and a hunger for education and for developing the skills of young people to be ready for the world. We see an amazing country in terms of the demographic and now economic dividend. I was having a really interesting conversation before we started about every time I come here, I see the growth of this country and the development of this country. So it's no longer a country where people just look out for great education, but increasingly looking in. We're seeing the growth of the Cambridge school network here every year that I come here. 100 new schools every year at the moment, reflecting this appetite, this hunger for creating the best opportunities for our young people. We have over 790 schools in India and close to 1,000 schools across the whole region who are embracing the Cambridge curriculum, embracing the opportunities of the Cambridge curriculum, and working with us in an incredible community of shared practice and shared values across this region. And I think that's why this room is full, and that's why there's energy in this room and belief and optimism in this room about what we can achieve together. So it is really, really wonderful to be here. And I'm sure each year we do this, we'll get better at running these sessions, but we'll probably have to rent bigger rooms as more and more people come and join this amazing community of schools. When I think about my son, again for a moment, and what he'd just been through, I think I did just want to start by recognizing the achievements of the students who have taken the biggest exam series, the largest exam series, who've just completed their March series exams this year. I'd just like to begin by saying well done to all of those students, but to all those teachers and parents and school leaders who have been supporting each other through this process. The March series is now our largest exam series in India. It's been growing every year since 2015. And just to remind people, the reason that we set up the March series in India and in this region was to recognize that for many students, while still just over half move internationally to continue their higher education, actually just under half are staying in India and experiencing the highest quality and opportunities in higher education also in India. And the March series was specifically put on to enable those people, those young people, to get their results in time for their progression into their next stage into Indian education. So we started it in 2015, and we've just run our biggest series ever. 17,000 students sat the Cambridge exams in the last couple of months from more than 400 schools. And that was a 12% increase on the number of students last year. As I mentioned, this is continually growing. These students made almost 85,000 exam entries, which itself was 11% up on last year. So I think that in itself is an indicator, but also an indicator of the increasing choice and options that students here in this region have for travelling, yes, overseas, but then also travelling and staying within the higher education sector within India as well. And this picture reflects actually what's happening around the world. 2024 was our biggest ever year for Cambridge international examinations globally. Over 4.5 million exams were sat in over 160 countries. More than 3 times as many young people, students, sat Cambridge exams than any other international education organisation. And the reason I find that heartening is not because, I'm running a business where that's a really great thing to be able to talk about numbers, but I think that evidences a continued faith that parents and schools and teachers and young people have in the value of international education. We'll talk a lot, I think, over the next couple of days about the challenges and disruptions that we're all facing around geopolitics and the challenges of sustainability and conflict and disruption and AI. But actually, people still look to international education as being the education that can help them prepare for that future, that disrupted, that changing future, better than any others. They still see the value and importance in an international perspective, a global perspective where we can learn from each other and where we can see those opportunities in a globally connected network, where our perspectives are not just limited to where we are, but to be able to embrace the cultures and learnings from around the world. And I think that growth, that record number of schools and teachers and learners who are delivering our curriculum is testament to that. And for that, I feel very grateful and very optimistic when I think about the challenges that we're all facing, but still that commitment to international education. So why is it that people are choosing Cambridge in such large numbers? The Cambridge curriculum is incredibly exclusive. We're proud of its exclusivity in terms of its quality, the opportunities that it creates for young people, both in India and around the world. But what I think we're really proud of is that this is exclusivity that is inclusive, that is accessible to schools and teachers and learners, that is deliverable, that is supported in every stage. So, we know that for students, the Cambridge curriculum provides a clear pathway to universities in India and around the world. We know that for students to have the opportunity to choose from over 60 subjects at AS and A level and 70 subjects in IGCSE, we know that that gives them the options to choose and to design and develop the curriculum that really works for them, that plays to their interests and aptitudes, that aligns them brilliantly for higher education, where those same subjects are studied in depth, but with those application skills that are developed right the way through the Cambridge curriculum. The Cambridge curriculum prepares young people for that next step into higher education. And the more we think about this, it's not just about where you get to with the Cambridge curriculum, but it's how you do when you get there. And all the evidence is that actually, yes, our students do go to the best universities in India and around the world, but more importantly, when they get there, they thrive and they do well. Our education needs to be much more than just the qualifications, the certificates that we give students when they complete. It's about how well equipped they are for their next steps out into the world. And I think that's why the Cambridge curriculum is so popular with students. For parents, it's important that the decision they're making, the commitment they're making, the money that they are spending, if we're being honest, is going to give their students the best chance, their best opportunities, the access to over 2,350 universities potentially around the world across 90 countries. The opportunity to have that exposure to the highest quality international education. For schools in this region, it's important that as well as providing an international curriculum and framework, it aligns so effectively with India's national education policy. But actually for schools, what's really important is the level of support that we give to teachers who are the linchpin of great education in every school we work with around the world. The support that we give to teachers and the teaching community evidences our belief and our faith in teachers, but also our commitment to help them to do their jobs even better. So that's why I think intellectual education is popular. I think that's why it continues to grow. But we can't just stand still. We recognize that whilst we can create a curriculum that is recognized and valued and respected around the world, we need to recognize that in every country that we work in, we have to help you contextualize this and make it work for you and for what you need in this market, in this country. And I'm really proud that at this conference, we're going to be able to unveil and talk about a number of things that we talked about as ideas last year, but actually that we're now bringing to help you support the delivery of an international education in India. So we talked about this a year ago. I hope that you can feel confidence that what we're doing here is thinking about how to make this even better for you in this region. So, early years. We touched on this a little bit last year. We all know the importance of those first years in education. We all know that actually the research that shows just what a profound impact a positive experience in the very first years of education have, not just on those early years, but on the whole student learner journey through their time. Even evidence pointing even to impacts ultimately on final examination results. So I was really excited that in 2020 we were able to, in 2021 I beg your pardon, we were able to launch our first version, our first edition of our early years curriculum. And what was really interesting, I thought, that schools in India were the first schools to adopt the Cambridge Early Years programme, reflecting, I think, the focus in the NEP in that area, but actually more than that, I think the insatiable demand that there is from parents in South Asia for those high quality early years experiences. We launched the programme in India in 2021, and we've taken that programme and learnt from what we did in India, and we've been rolling it around the world in 2023. There are now over 215 early years centres in India, and having travelled around a number of them. Apart from the fact it's very, very bad for my knees, it's one of the most enjoyable experiences I ever have in travelling around the world to see the way that early years education from Cambridge is being implemented in centres around the world. But we're doing a lot more. Last summer, in collaboration with Get Set Learn, an Arvind Mafatlal group company, and I hope I pronounced that right, I suspect I haven't, but nevertheless we launched our Young Pioneers programme. The one thing I get almost in every school I talk to when I visit in South Asia is, what are we doing about skills? We know the strength of the academic curriculum that you offer, the options that you offer, but what are you doing about skills? I think I've met more young entrepreneurs in India and in South Asia than in any other country I visit. The appetite for entrepreneurial skills is enormous. So I was really pleased that last year we could develop in partnership and then launch our Young Pioneers program. This is a 3-stage entrepreneurship program for learners in grades 7 to 10 that further enhances the future-ready skills that you will already develop in the Cambridge curriculum, but really to focus in on those entrepreneurial skills around creativity, around communication, collaboration, and critical thinking, aligned with the National Education Policy and the Skills India initiative, which is geared towards offering industry-related and relevant training and skills enhancement to young people. This program is a really fascinating, interesting, and innovative program, I think, that integrates curriculum-based learning with expert-led masterclasses, with young people pitching their ideas to industry experts and mentors who we're connecting with the schools delivering it. For me, this is no better indication of the way that whilst we keep a bedrock of an academic curriculum at the heart of what we do, we need to innovate and introduce these kinds of programs to ensure that they will continue to be young people ready for the world. I'm hugely proud also of what we're doing around climate education. This isn't a launch, this is the beginning of a program and commitment that we make at Cambridge to improving the quality of climate education around the world. This isn't something we will do and launch and stop. This is something we are committed to for decades to come. Because we recognize that actually education is one of the key planks to addressing the challenges of sustainability and the climate crisis that we are facing today. But it's not us who are facing it, it's the young people who are entering the world where this will be their reality for years and decades to come. We launched Cambridge Climate Quest, and we launched it first in India. We developed the program here, we launched it here some 15, 18 months ago. What is it? It's a 2.5-hour free online course that we make available to every school who wants it. This is not just something we want to do for Cambridge schools, although we know that many of our Cambridge schools are beacons of excellence around climate education. But we want to make this available to anybody who feels that they want to provide their underpinning knowledge and understanding of the science, but not just the science, the other academic foundations of climate education. And then on top of that, the case studies from India, because we know that the solutions, or at least some of the solutions, or the routes to solutions to this issue are around global knowledge, but local application. It's the local issues, it's the local case studies, and you'll find these in Climate Quest as well. We launched it some 15 months or so. Over 500 schools is our target, 50,000 learners in India and South Asia. We want to welcome into a community focused on what we need to do through education to address the issues and challenges of climate education. I want to talk now a little bit more about what I think is an incredibly important development for the Cambridge curriculum in India. We've just launched, but it's a very early stage of the launch, and we're looking to work with schools at the moment, a new pathway within the Cambridge curriculum that we're calling the Cambridge Connection. Excuse me. And what this is we recognise that when you choose a Cambridge curriculum, increasingly, as I've mentioned earlier, the options to travel internationally are hugely important, and they will continue to be important and inspirational. Routes into the Cambridge India higher education is already very well established for many of our programs. But what about the options for those Cambridge students who are taking the Cambridge curriculum, who may have the aspirations for the high-stakes competitive examinations that we know are such a key and high-profile part of our system here in India? So what we have been launching, and what we are launching now, is the pathway within the Cambridge curriculum where you can identify those students whose endpoint may be that, to provide the option for the content and the application of that content, beginning early in the IGCSE years, but tracking right the way through, so that at the completion of this pathway, within the Cambridge pathway, your young people have the content that they may require that may be extra to the Cambridge curriculum, but most importantly, the application of that content, the ability to be able to manipulate, to engage, to apply creativity and problem solving, that will be the best preparation, we believe, for those high stakes competitive exams as well. So what we're trying to say is that the options are there for the learner. The options are there for the young person. When you start a Cambridge curriculum, all of those options and pathways are still open to you. And as you develop your interest and your capabilities and you know where you want to go with the Cambridge curriculum, there are now options and pathways through the Cambridge curriculum that will enable you to travel internationally to the best universities in the world, to stay in India and access the best universities in India, or to prepare yourself effectively for those high-stakes, highly competitive examinations. And we believe that is a unique flexibility and preparation that nobody else is offering. We recognize this is a big development. We recognize that there's lots of interesting challenges around how we plan that into the curriculum, how we teach it, how we support teachers. And so we're launching that now and looking for schools to work with us on the best way to implement that into their curriculum. I hope you'll agree it's a very important, a very interesting, I hope a very exciting development, and I look forward to seeing the way that that will develop in this country over the years ahead. I've mentioned the key linchpin to all of this, with all of these new developments, with this continuing need to prepare young people for the world, and we recognize and we champion and we celebrate the central role of teachers in all of that. And we recognize that probably one of the biggest challenges as international education grows around the world is actually the availability of teachers who are able to really deliver that high quality experiential curriculum. So we're doing more and more and more, and we want to do more of it with you and for you. You'll see that we have doubled, tripled the number of support events and training events that we're running around the world. We've just launched, we have our Teachers of Tomorrow community that we're developing specifically here in South Asia. A portal where you can access fantastic content from leading edge thinkers around the Cambridge curriculum, but also the issues that we're all facing today as education develops and needs to develop for the future. Over 10,000 school leaders, teachers are already members of this community. And again, I would urge you to take the time to explore this and to see the value that you could bring for your teachers. We've just launched with Wolsey Hall, an online education provider, a service that enables you to identify if there are some subjects where maybe there's a shortage of teachers, or you don't have the teachers in certain specialist areas or specialist subjects, for instance, or indeed where you have the demand for substantial numbers of classes that you can't meet. And again, we're launching with them a quality assured program where you can work with them on providing online tutors for those subjects that are difficult to fill with teachers. And again, we want to work very closely with you about how that will work in practice. And we have conferences like this that I think are a real indicator of the value of coming together as a community of teachers. But actually, we recognize that we want to do a lot more. The PDQs are fantastically recognized and valued qualifications to help develop high quality teaching and learning in your classroom. But we recognize actually we want to do a lot more. We want to do a lot more that reflects the development of teachers at every stage in their educational development, in their career, from the very beginnings right the way through to the highest levels of excellence. And so we are developing an increasing number of programs. Next year we'll be launching new level 3 PDQs that start to bring down and provide a bridge into the high level PDQs that your excellent teachers can access. So launching our level 3 PDQs. Just a month or so ago we launched a really exciting new pre-service teacher development program in India, Vishwakarma University, and rolling out in Amity, and now looking for other partners around India that can help us launch this pre-service program and module and extension to B.Ed programs in India, where we can start to develop that cadre of teachers coming through who can start to deliver really high quality education that your schools need and your learners deserve. I'm very excited about that development as well. So I hope what's really clear is that we're trying to do a lot more to support this insatiable, this incredible demand for high quality education in India and South Asia, that recognizes the importance of a globally recognized curriculum, but the value of local implementation and support. And so, as well as the things that we're doing in terms of new products, we also want to ensure that we're working with you and schools on continuing to develop and deliver excellence in your school. We'll be working with you increasingly on meeting with you each year, working with you on your development plans, identifying the things that we can do to help you deliver the Cambridge curriculum even better. What we can learn from schools around the world who are doing it effectively. What we can learn from each other in terms of the support that we can provide to you to drive that. Please do take an opportunity of looking at, building those connections with the team, the amazing team that we have here in South Asia to help you do that. I hope what's really clear from all of that is that we're committed to supporting you and helping you deliver great education in South Asia. But to say that without recognizing that one of the biggest changes that we're all having to get our heads around is the impacts of digital in education more generally. So I'm just going to say a few words about that as well, if I may. We know that technology is transforming almost every aspect of our lives. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't think that that was going to impact education as well. So actually we've been doing a huge amount of work over the last year and a half on really focusing on what does that digital future need to look like in our curriculum and in our exams. So from June next year, we will begin rolling out digital high-stakes exams, beginning in some subjects and spreading across the curriculum over time. But to be really clear, we're going to be doing this in a very considered, consultative, and thoughtful way. We will not move people wholesale to digital delivery if the school, the students, the context, the environment is not ready for it. But we will provide you those options. We will work through an early adopters program with schools that want to introduce digital examinations on not just, here's the examinations, now run them, but how can you prepare your school to be ready to do this? What do we need to ensure that you have the environment that will work, the preparation for your students, the preparation for your teachers? Because actually, we can put exams online, but unless we work with our community of schools, that experience is going to be a difficult one. So we'll be launching, as I say, next year, but actually more importantly, reaching out to schools across our network to work with you on identifying the schools that we want to work with and support on that journey to being ready. And when you do experience the Cambridge approach to examinations, I think you will find digital examinations, you'll find that this has been built not on a functionality-driven approach, but on what works pedagogically. Where assessment and digital assessment scaffolds and supports and improves the assessment experience, where the opportunities around digital assessment are actually what more can you do through digital assessment, not just what can you replace from what you're traditionally doing through paper tests. And I think that approach that's grounded in working with our community on practical support, seeing what research shows us about where the value, that is what will differentiate our approach and what I think you will find will add value to your offer, not just pain and in your delivery. We're doing some really interesting things ahead of that. We've been developing our understanding of all of this through our digital mocks service, which a number of you have been involved in. I think some 15 centres of India have been involved in our program of developing and delivering digital mock examinations. So those are already available. We have 15 centres in India across 11 subjects already. And we've gathered from that process the feedback that we're feeding into our high stakes program. So please, again, do take the opportunity of looking at our digital mocks service ahead of us bringing out the high stakes exams, because I think that will give you a lot of good experience of how to run these types of exams in your school. And of course, what it does then also give you is more time for teaching, because what you have with our digital mock service is almost immediate turnaround of results that enable you to both learn from that experience and then help prepare your learners for the final high stakes exams afterwards. So, this is a really important development, but one that we're going into in a very thoughtful and supportive way. It wouldn't be a conference, though, if we didn't talk about AI. I haven't been at a conference for the last 18 months where somebody hasn't asked me about AI, and the biggest lesson I've learned from that is to bring people along with me who know the answers to that. Because, whilst we recognize, I think, that over the last 18 months we've all been, if we're being honest, somewhat shell-shocked by the impact of generative AI. At times, somewhat pushing back, reactionary. Actually, what we're seeing across our community around the world now is an increasing openness and optimism about AI. Still concern, still some anxiety and ambiguity, but recognizing that if we as a teaching and learning community can properly embrace the opportunities around AI, then actually there are ways in which this could be a significant benefit for what we do in terms of productivity, but more importantly from what we can do to help prepare young people for a world where this will be the reality, the day-to-day reality. So we are doing a lot of really interesting things that we'll also be talking a little bit about at this conference. How we're using AI to speed up marking and therefore feedback. How are you using AI to help teachers be more productive? We have 50,000 documents on our website that tell you how to teach and support the Cambridge curriculum. I have read none of them. No, I have read very few of them, because there's almost so much information. Where do you go? So this year we're going to be launching our teaching assistant, where you can interrogate our content using AI, where you can ask the questions in natural language and it will find those answers within our website to be able to run our exams more effectively. Now, it's a really simple example, but I hope it kind of brings to life actually the ways in which AI can be helpful and supportive of what we do, not just a challenge to what we do. We will, of course, and we are already beginning to include AI into our curriculum, bringing it into the different subjects in age-appropriate ways and starting to embed it in subjects, as well as to develop through our IPQ and other qualifications and approaches, contexts in which students can really embrace AI and bring it into their learning and bring it into the way they want to evidence their learning. And over the next few years, you'll see this significantly embedded into our curriculum and embedded into the way that you can help teach and prepare young people for that. We've just launched recently, and I do urge you to check it out on our website if you can find it, but you will be able to find it soon. But nevertheless, we've just launched our practical guide to AI in the classroom. Please do take the time to have a look at that. A wonderfully supportive and helpful series of guides and advice for how to embrace AI in your teaching and learning. We've also developed, and it's not here, I haven't mentioned it, but I was very excited before, so I was coming over on the plane here, I noticed, I saw the thing that we've also just launched, this is the complete aside, our third module with Cambridge Maths and Microsoft, Minecraft. And I think, recognizing that some of the interests and the opportunities around gamification with software and technology really can add some interesting new engagement. I mention that because it's the only thing I've ever done in my 10 years at Cambridge that my children think I'm quite cool. Quite cool. Nothing more than that. But that's a victory, let me tell you. But I hope it gives you an idea and a sense of the way in which we recognize that whilst we need to keep the bedrock of what we do that is so important and powerful, we need to innovate and to move with the times in the way that we support education in the classroom. I'm just going to end, if I may, with just a few comments around something I've touched on a little bit. I've talked to you about the Cambridge Connection, talked to you about the number of universities in India that are embracing and welcoming Cambridge students. But still at the heart, and I think that at the moment there's a lot of changes and disruption, and we've got a panel tomorrow talking about this, that international pathways and international opportunities remain one of the fundamental things that we can deliver together for young people taking the Cambridge curriculum. And we recognise that the landscape is changing, but we recognise that still that over 600,000 Indian students a year travel overseas to study. What have we found out about that? The top destinations for Indian students, USA, UK, and Canada, are still the same, but we know that the dynamic of that is changing. We know that new regional hubs, new areas, new places and destinations are emerging, but those still remain the key regions. And what I will say is that within that world, more than 2,200 universities recognise Cambridge qualifications, not just recognise them, but welcome them as a mechanism by which young people can access the next steps. Every single one of the top 20 universities in the world by any rankings, and I could probably extend it to 50 if I'm being honest, accept and welcome the Cambridge qualifications as an indicator of access, the ability to access those top quality universities around the world. But I mentioned earlier on, I think, a really important theme, and I want to work on this with the community. It's not just where you get to, it's how you do when you get there. And I just want to run quickly, if I may, a video where we can give you some insight and feedback of what universities are saying about Cambridge students. So if we could run the video, please.
On many occasions, I've had the opportunity to talk with peers and colleagues at conferences and meetings about Cambridge and about the Cambridge student. And as I think about that, how I would describe a Cambridge student to my peers is they're passionate, they're caring, they are curious, and they really want to understand how to solve a problem and how to solve that together in a collaborative manner. And that's a real distinction with a Cambridge student.
These are students who are prepared to not only contribute as students, but also go out and be great citizens, right? And be great leaders. And that's why, universities worldwide and employers worldwide place a high value on those students who've done the Cambridge curriculum.
At Monash University, we had more than 10 years of rigorous data of Cambridge students on campus. Their performance after our analysis shows that they perform at level or above most of the other cohorts of the students. So we're very happy to receive Cambridge students, and they're very well regarded.
Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me the time to listen to what I wanted to say. I think we've got a great couple of days ahead. Lots of really great opportunities to learn more about some of the things I've talked about, from amazing people that we've brought from Cambridge to give their insights, but to also learn from each other. We are very proud of what we do around the world, but I'm incredibly proud of what we do here in South Asia. We see this as an area where we see excellence every day, where we see the opportunity to get even better, and where we see a community that we can work with to keep international education alive and well and relevant and important for the future of the world and for the future of young people who are entering that world. Thank you very much for your time. I just want to say that went slightly better than my wedding. I feel, in as much as no one walked out of this one. So thank you very much indeed for your time. It's really wonderful to see you, and enjoy the next couple of days. Thank you.